introduce yourself.
I'm Curtis Cockerham. I'm a DevOps consultant at a company called New Context. We're a company's based out of the San Francisco Bay Area. We got about 10 engineers here in Kansas City. And I didn't say earlier, but I think we're always hiring. So as long as we have engineers, we can keep getting contracts. So we're always hiring.
And I'm Aaron Blythe. I'm just a dude. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over, I know you guys are very busy and you're working really hard and stuff, and you don't get to read all of the news. So we're going to go over quickly a few pieces of news items for DevOps.
So to start with, this is the wrong article, but I'll get it updated in Slack. So this month,
We'll put the right articles in the Slack.
So the thing was, the right article on my personal laptop wouldn't load because I have an ad blocker. So I just grabbed the next one in line, and that was not the right one.
I read this one. It took a long time to load.
Yeah, ad blocker lets it load. So chatbots are starting to become more and more prevalent. You see them a lot of times if people have them in Slack. You can tell your bot, hey, I need to go build something, and you'll go, okay, cool, and it'll run off and run some Jenkins jobs. Well, Facebook's kind of doing some cool stuff with their chatbots. The one that I saw recently this month was they got 2 chatbots that started to communicate with each other. And the idea was that they were going to try to negotiate with each other. And one was set up as a fair and balanced, and the other was kind of do whatever it takes to get the deal kind of bot. And they left them alone. And they're supposed to kind of learn the ways to communicate with each other and get what they need done. Well, after developers left them alone and came back, they realized they weren't speaking English anymore. It looked like English, but it was kind of a shorthand. You could kind of tell what they were trying to get at, but it was like, we didn't program them to do this. And they learned their own language because it was easier for them to communicate that way just through machine learning. That part was really cool, but the part that blew my mind was that they kind of tucked away at the bottom of the article, which was, because they were designed, one guy was designed to be fair and one guy was designed to kind of get the deal no matter what, the fair robot learned how to be sneaky. He learned very quickly, or he or she, I don't know, it, whatever you want to call the robot, it learned very quickly on that if it kind of put no value on an object at the beginning of a conversation, that it was like, I don't want that, I don't want to trade it. So what it started with was, I want books, hats, random objects, just to try to get them to talk. And sit there and go, I don't want these hats, they're worthless to me. But then later down the road, when it was like, okay, look, I really need 2 books, I guess I'll take these 3 hats if I have to, when it really did. And that surprised developers too, because no one programmed them to be sneaky. So if you read any articles about the singularities not happening, it's sneaky chatbots telling us it's not going to happen.
2 things on that. One thing I think of is I have this friend that I've known my whole life, and I can say like half a sentence to him, he just picks up like the rest of it. Like I can totally get how that could happen between 2 humans, so like chatbots make sense. But then the other part was like, what was that movie with Johnny Depp where he's like, I went to jail with like an associate's degree in weed and I came out with a PhD in cocaine.
Whoa.
Yeah, like you mean like you get exposed to these nasty things and it just like spills over.
That's what happened with Watson. Watson found 4chan and Urban Dictionary and they had to erase it all because it started using slang.
I've heard the different chatbots that were just like, they just started saying nasty things on Twitter.
Yeah, racist.
The next thing, the DevOps report, State of DevOps report came out. We've been talking about it in the Slack channel and the general channel. Scott and I have gone back and forth, and a lot of other people have jumped in there. We went over each of the findings. There's 6 key findings. We went over 1 per day for a little over a week. And the one that really stuck out to me is that, like, obviously high performers do the most automation work, right? But the weird part was the medium performers they're finding do more manual work than the low performers. And I think that just goes right to what Scott was saying before. Like, as you are going on this journey and like automating your company, you take those manual things that you already do and you make them smarter, and then you automate those. So you have this period where you're doing a lot more manual work to get to that period where you're doing the more automated work. That's the biggest thing that stuck with me. I don't know if you had a chance to read through the...
Not yet, but I just know lazy people like to automate and do less work. So.
Yeah, exactly. This one's interesting.
So who hasn't thought about this on your way out the door of a company? So on June 9th, a relatively unknown hosting company based out of, I think, out of The Hague, I looked at their Twitter, they've got like 2 followers. They went from obscurity to kind of making the rounds on the internet a little bit. On June 9th, if you went to their homepage, you saw this love letter to everybody saying, sorry, we've lost all of your data. We've lost everything. An ex-sysadmin deleted everything. Which, holy shit. I don't know how you do that and not get caught or get away from that. June 9th, all of the stuff went down. They reported they had lost everything, and they were working on trying to get it back. They didn't even know if they had backups. They had to completely take everything off the network, because when they say ex-employee, they mean someone that had already left the company. This wasn't somebody on the way out. This was somebody that was already gone and still had access. So they had to pull everything off the network to fix it. Luckily, it took a weekend. By the 12th or 13th, they were back up and running, and they sent a note out to all their customers saying, reset your passwords. And if you're missing any files, let us know. Here's an email directly to support. We will help you try to locate them or do whatever we can to remediate this. Which, when you read this, you start raising some questions like, if this person was gone, why do they still have access? Why is it that one person had enough access to scorch the earth? It takes at least 2 people with keys to launch a nuke, I thought. You would hope that you could have this set up in a way that no one person can delete all your databases, all of your databases, all of your users, all of their data, all of the backups, and everything under the sun. But what do you know? So yeah, I know we've all wanted to do it. This is what happens.
The big thing here is you gotta have a good exit procedure for anybody working in your company. I know it's painful to work with that team that runs your AD server, but it's a really good idea to just get your app, whatever it may be, connected into LDAP. And so, because usually that's the one where when someone leaves, they yank them from LDAP and then their password doesn't work anymore. I know I've gone through this many times working with that team, and they have the keys to all the kingdom. They don't want to give anything up. But work with them, so when someone leaves, they're gone. You hear about this one? They're still working there. They're still working there. Actually, it was their first day. The first day working at this company, so my understanding is this person was following the training material, and there were steps that were copy and pasted from an actual deployment guide into the training material that had keys to production. A few steps later in the training material, it says blow away your test database, which happened to be the production database. You can't read this right here, but in the post, we don't know if this is true or not, right? But the CTO told me to leave and never come back. First day, right? So since this was anonymous, we don't really know. But what ended up happening was this kicked off a whole bunch of blogs and a whole bunch of Reddit posts talking about brittleness of a system and about actually onboarding. And what they call this is blame and train. When you actually blame the single person and then try to train those problems away, which is actually terrible. It's actually less than negative to less than even to your company. If you have this type of culture where you're just blaming people and training, blaming and training, your productivity actually falls off. There's different studies that have been done on this. So what you want to do instead is find that second story. Why was this the documentation written that way? Shouldn't the actual onus fall on the person that maybe slipped up and wrote the documentation this way? So there's a bunch of good blogs. This is one of them. We'll put all the blogs that we're talking about in the Slack for you to take a look at. But this one was a great story, even if it was totally false, because it kicked off a whole bunch of great discussion.
Yeah, my favorite part down here is the edit where the guy's like, shit, just realized I walked off with the laptop they gave me, what do? But yeah, no, I've done that. I worked at CenturyLink and blew away their production database because I wasn't paying attention to where I was working in test and production. Luckily, I take backups of everything, so it was one of those wait, this is taking a lot longer than it should. Oh, that says fraud.
Let's restore from backup real quick.
Yeah. Who heard about Stack Clash that came out this month? So it's another vulnerability. It's already been patched, I believe, of the 19th. But if you run Linux, you're probably vulnerable. The nice thing about it is that it was patched in 2005 and then 10, and now in 2017. So I guess the third time's the charm. Maybe it'll stick this time. Basically, it's the way the vulnerability works is this just kind of does from my basic understanding of looking at it, it looks like it's just kind of a Stack Overflow exploit. Look, when people get to game over screens in video games by stacking things up correctly, they can get root on your server by stacking things up correctly in memory and then dumping it over into somewhere else. And now I'm root. Hey, everybody. But like they said, it's now been patched. You have to patch it, reboot your systems. If you can't reboot the system, they do have a workaround where you can kind of limit the stack sizes, so that way you can kind of avoid this. But yeah, this was discovered or announced earlier this month and fixed for a third time.
Yeah, it's been out there for 12 years. Most likely any distro you're running has this vulnerability.
I don't see Debian on there.
What's that?
I don't see Debian. What about Ubuntu?
Linux.
They're both
It's the
Linux.
kernel.
Right there.
So that cover it. Gotcha.
Yeah, if it's a Unix system, it's got it.
Okay.
So yeah, my understanding was someone fixed it. Someone like way up on the chain, like maybe even Linus.
Is this the
Next.
same one? I tried finding that where it said like Linus fixed it in like 05. A
Next.
patch came through.
Next patch didn't intend on reverting it. It was a merge conflict and threw away that commit.
Went unnoticed.
Went unnoticed for a long
Decade.
time. And then something weird happened again next time they tried to fix it. It's just a ghost that doesn't want to be.
Yeah.
So now if they're using Git, they won't have that problem again, right?
I'm sure.
They have CBS.
Was Git? Were they using Git for Linux?
But there was
Yeah.
That would have been around the time that he was actually writing Git.
Maybe it was one of the first like Git things that nobody else understood it but Linus.
I merged them.
I just rebased it. It's fine.
And what I think is the most important, Borg has sketched Kubernetes. So that's huge. If you don't follow Julia Evans on Twitter, get out your phone now and follow Julia Evans on Twitter because she's awesome and she explains computers in like a way that I can understand them because they're kind of hard. So as of, I think it was last month, or maybe it was the month before, I don't know, months, I'm not good with those. Kubernetes, we talked about, and there's a lot of interest. We're thinking about doing Kubernetes next month. This is a really good article, and I had a lot of epiphanies when I read this today. The big thing that stood out to me is like to understand Kubernetes and to be a good developer, you're probably going to need a fundamental understanding of networking, which a lot of developers, I understand, don't have. I didn't have for a long time. I actually took a class at the community college last year to go get a better understanding of networking. And of course, like, basically just follow Borg. Here's John Allspaw, former CTO at Etsy, who says basically until Borg explains a computer thing, you can't say you actually know it, from earlier this week. So that's the news.